Okay, well, we're back again, and this one is going to be our part 3. I've already opened up the new drawing, and if you're just clicking onto this one, you already have it up. You'll have your drawing up. You don't have to start a new one if you have it up. But remember, it's just clicking the new button. Remember, coming to open, no template imperial, just in case you're not ready on that. Okay, what we're going to pick up from here, we've gone through lines, polylines, circles, arcs, and rectangles. Okay, underneath this rectangle, see the little flyout arrow right here? If you click on the flyout arrow, you can come down to Polygon. This is a super simple command, but you have to read. When you click on Polygon, the first thing it's going to ask you is right here, enter number of sides. Now, if my F12 is on, that'll give it up there in this screen. So the number of sides, say we want an octagon. We will type in 8 and hit enter. And then it's going to ask you for the center of the polygon. So I'm going to place it where I want. And remember, in class we were talking about across the flats and across the diagonals. That's inscribed or circumscribed. So let's go ahead and just start with the inscribed. And now it's asking us to specify the radius of the circle. Let's just call it 2 inches. I want you to see the difference. Okay, so there's a 2-inch radius octagon. That's simple. Let's go ahead and go right click and repeat our polygon, or we could have gone up there and picked it again. Number of sides, let's go 8. Let's pick our center, and let's go circumscribed. And let's type in 2. Look at the difference. I use that move command and come over here. You'll see there is a difference in these two. Even though everything was the same, remember, across the diagonals from point to point is going to be your 2 inches. And I'll show you that here. If I go to this annotate, go from one point to the next point. It was a 2-inch radius, so it's 4 inches. And if I go ahead and do the next one here, and I say linear, and I take from here to here, oops, let me get it in the right place, that'd be helpful. See, they're both 4 inches. This one's on the outside of the circle. If you want to see that, if I just did this and typed in 2, see, this one would be on the inside of the circle. That's inscribed. This one would be on the outside of the circle, circumscribed. So just remember those two. Now, with that, one thing I do want you to notice is whatever you pick last, if I picked rectangle, rectangle is going to sit up on top. If I pick polygon, polygon is going to be on top. So remember, polygon is that easy. You know, you want a hexagon, you type in 6. Place your center, inscribed, circumscribed, whichever you want. You can also drag it out. You don't have to type in, but that's when you're not trying to have anything accurate. So those are polygons. Yes, you can type in silly things too, such as if you wanted 100 sides. Why? I don't know, but you guys always like to do that. So you can come through. And yeah, notice, it does look like it's a circle. But if you really get in here and start zooming in, you will see it is not. And if you picked it, this was our circle. This is our 100 sides. So see the difference? Each one of these have got movable spaces. Okay? So don't waste too much time going into the crazy amount of numbers there. Just do your normal ones and get used to it. All right? So that is your polygons. Now, get rid of this. And let's go through here and go to ellipses. This is the next one. You have 3 kinds of ellipses. And once again, since it's an ellipse arc, I probably wouldn't use it. I'd be a one that drew the ellipse the way I wanted it and then trim it. But let's talk about the 2 other kinds you have here. This one here is, if you can see it, it's asking you for a center. So when you take it, it's going to ask you for the center of the ellipse, and they're going to ask you for axis endpoints. I'm going to put my ortho on so you have a better idea. There's my center. This would be, and now think of an egg just laying down. If I come from this edge here, that'll be one edge of the egg, and then I tell it how tall up I want it this direction. So this one here is going to be your center. So it's going to ask you for the dead center, one axis endpoint, the other axis endpoint. So basically you're giving it a quadrant, and it's completing it all the way across. The next one, it is asking for axis endpoints. And what that's asking for is from here to here, because these are the ends, and here are the ends. So let's show you the difference on that one. Let's go here to here, and then it's asking us where else we want to go. So it's asking you almost like the length and the height. So this one is from the dead center. It asks you for endpoint to endpoint. This one asks you from endpoint to endpoint, and then the next endpoint. So just remember those two. That's important. And hint, hint, there will be a drawing coming up that you will have to know which one you need to use on this. All right, I will just show you this one quickly, elliptical arc. It's going to ask you for the axis endpoint to the next, and then once you start picking it, it's going to ask you where you want to take this from. Let me take the ortho off so you can draw. It's several steps, and you have to really read through what you want done and where you want it, because if you don't, it's more on the difficult side. My thinking is I've always found it easier to do this and hit my trim function, which I will be showing you soon. So let's see. Now this one down here, hatch. I want to show you some cool stuff with hatch. So I'm going to draw some things in here really quick, and just so you can see it. Hatch is as basic as this. There's three things under hatch. There's hatch, there's gradient, and there's boundary. Okay, first is hatch. And what is hatch used for? Hatch tells you a material. Hatch tells you where the inside of things are. Hatch allows you to give more meaning to a drawing. So with the hatch, let's just pick the hatch command, and let's pick inside here. Now, with this, these are all the patterns you get. If you hold the little arrow here, it's going to show you all the different patterns you can choose, such as if you're doing a brick house. Now, you really can't see this because this brick house, these bricks are set up more for architectural scale, and we've got something very small there. So let's just pick this one here so you can see. So this looks like the little bricks, things that you can do with it. You can come in here and you can give it the scale. So if you need to make it smaller, let's type in like 0.5 so you can see it. It can give you angles. For some reason, if you need things tilted. See right here, I can use the slider bar, or I can just type in my number. Like here, I can tell it go back to 0. That's helpful. This is transparency, where if you want to make it actually lighter so you don't notice as much. This also is really easier to use in something called the layer properties, which I will show you shortly too. So these are your little options. The other options I want you to know is this one here, set origin. I can come in here and say, hey, I want this to be the start, because no one has a quarter of a brick or an eighth of a brick. But see how it'll change that area. When you get it done, you right click and enter. Now, say you did something with hatch like this, and you decided, oh, I need to change it now. All you do is pick it. It pops you right back to here, and then you can go and change things, whatever you want to do. There's also here's where you can pick your points, select. This pretty much comes up as an easy default. There's several more options that are available in here, but for this time right now, this is all I'm going to go into. There's things that are called island detection when you have a circle or something else sitting inside here. like I said before, I will go into that a little bit more. This is just to get you going on hatch, okay? Now, the other thing that people like under hatch is the following. This one here called gradient. Gradient is the one that gives you all the pretty colors. So you can pick in here, and now with this gradient, you can actually change. So you want the colors outside, look at it. There's all the different ones that you can choose. You can come in here and change whatever colors you wanted to do. So many different things. But this is where it adds more of a artistic flair for some of your drawings. This is really not going to be used very much. It's going to use in our third 9 weeks when we do our architectural on this one area called a plot plan. You'll use it then. But I think you need to see it just so you can have some fun with it. Now, let me show you the last thing. And I haven't even spoken to my advanced kids about this yet. This is something I haven't used much, but I was fooling around with it. And I thought, oh my goodness, this will be very, very helpful for them because they're so much into 3D. Okay, for instance, say you have an area drawn like this and you want to go in there in your hatch and you want to hatch something. You can go in there and pick it. And of course, you can change. I mean, really explore this. Take a look at all these different things they have. They have some really, what I think, silly little things like these stars. I mean, really, we need stars? Okay, with this is something that could be helpful in the future. This one right here where it says boundary. If you pick boundary, and this will come up and it'll say to make it into a polyline. There's some other options. I'm going to go here and pick points, and I'm just going to pick in the dead center. See how it made that little area around it? I'm going to right click and it's done. So if you take a look now, it basically has made a polyline all the way around. So I'm just going to move this. So that was created that easily from this point. So that's something to keep in mind, especially when we're in our fourth 9 weeks this school year. We are going to be doing some 3D things, and this could be really helpful for you. So that is what I've got you going now for hatch. So you've played and you've learned all these different ones here. Now I will show you underneath draw, there are a few more options. I am not getting into this till later because these are really not that important to you at this point. Now, over here, we've gone into things such as we've done our move and we've done our copy. What I'd like to show you today is our rotate and our mirror. So I want to add these two into it. So let me draw a couple of little weird things here for rotating and copying. Let me just do a rectangle. And let me do a line like so. Now, on rotate, rotate does exactly what it says. You rotate something. So if I pick the rotate command, I can come in here and I pick it and I right click. Now this is the important point to remember. Specify your base point. If I pick it from here, the item is going to rotate like so. All right, I'm going to turn this tracking off. It'll rotate from here. If I pick rotate, and I just randomly pick in here, it's going to rotate from here. You have to know where you want to rotate something from. If I picked way out here, look where it's going to rotate from. So that is your pivot point. That's like your base point. I always joke around and tell people your base point for rotating is like if you put a nail in the bottom of your shoe into the floor and you had your foot in your shoe, that's where you'd be spinning if that was your base point. So your rotate is always going to be where you're going to have the rotation from. Pick this one. See how it's going from here. Now, the next thing, there's a rotate. And let me add this one in there too. When you go to rotate, you can pick, and when you right click and pick your base point, see down here, it says copy or reference. If I pick the word copy or type in the C, If I rotate with a copy, it's going to give me the original and the next one rotated. So don't forget about that one. Look in these little command things where it says copy. And this one says copy and reference. So let me show you something by getting rid of this one first. This is real important. And if you understand how this works, it's going to make your drawings a lot easier later on. If we come to rotate and we pick the item we want to rotate, okay, we right click. Now it's asking for us for a base point. This is where I want to show you. I want to rotate this so that this line here is going to be at the same angle as this. Now, in the past, you'd have to take this angle, you'd have to take this angle, you'd have to figure out the math to do it. But what's great about it is it's a very simple procedure now. We picked rotate, let's pick our base point here. And I'm picking my base point here as if it would be from here to here. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is look down here at the bottom. It says copy or reference. I'm going to either choose the word reference or type R for reference. So it's going to ask you to give you a reference. This is what my angle is. My angle is from here to here. And notice I went from the bottom to the top. Now it asks me, rotate, specify new angle or points. Well, if I knew this angle, I could type this angle in and that would match it up, but I don't know it. So now, down here where it says points, I either pick the points or type P for points. And I'm going to come from here to here. See how it rotated it? Now, I picked from here to here first and here to here. And the reason is so it goes in the same direction. If I picked here to here and then here to here, this whole thing would flip in the opposite direction. So you always want to keep in the same direction. So rotate's phenomenal, especially if you remember how to do your reference. So let's go ahead and do that again. Let me just delete this one here and let's just draw in another rectangle and let's do it over here. And now let's rotate so we can have this one lined up here. Rotate, choose your item, right click, pick your base point, R for reference, or pick the reference. I want to go from here to here. And now I can either pick the word points or type in P for point and go here to here. Notice they're now running in the same direction. Super simple, very, very helpful. So make sure you know that one. Okay? All right, let's do another thing here. Let's do our mirror. Mirror is a phenomenal thing. It'll save you so much time and trouble. Let's say we had some crazy drawing that we spent a ton of time on, and this is just being something silly, and we've worked and we worked, and we need the same exact thing on this side. We come in for a mirror. So we're going to pick mirror, and it's going to say select your objects. So I selected my objects, and after they're all selected, I right click. Now it's going to ask me my first point of my mirror line. Let's go for this one. Let's just pick right here. And I'm going to put ortho on, which is F8, and make it come straight up. So when I pick it, it's going to say erase source object. If I tell it no, it'll keep it. If I tell it yes, this one will go away. So where could this be helpful? This could be helpful if you have a drawing that one side is identical to the other. Why draw both when you can draw half and then mirror it over? It'll save you a lot of time. With mirror again, yes, you can mirror a mirror. Let's go here. And if we come up here, and this time let's say erase the source. Let's tell it yes. See how that one went away. Now you got some other things with mirror. Remember right now, if you look, I've got my ortho on. So my ortho is only letting me go in certain directions. If I take my ortho off, F8, I can mirror things at different angles. So I can come through here and have it mirrored there. And yes, you can mirror a mirror. And let's pick way out here. And we can do this. So we keep mirroring a mirror. So that is something you can get a lot of cool things done with. So what you need to do now is I want you to play around and practice with your polygons. I want you to practice with some hatch. Definitely practice with these two, the center and the axis endpoint. Don't worry about the elliptical arc so much. You can play around with it. You might like that, but definitely do the rotate and mirror. So you've learned line, polyline, circles, arcs, rectangles, polygons, ellipses, this hatch. You've learned move, copy, rotate, and mirror. So let's work with all of those, okay? So that should set you up for some more practice. All right? Is that one all good for you then?